number one fight you should be watching on UFC 312, and no, it's not on the main event. This is Carson, I'm the Renee Report, and let's get right into it. All right, so we have the first fight of the prelims, which is going to be Aleksandre Topuria versus Colby Thicknesse. Now, you're probably asking yourself, it's not on the main event. I don't even know who those guys are. One of their last names sounds very familiar, and you would not be mistaken. Why do I need to watch this fight? Well, it's pretty freaking simple. You hear the last name Topuria, and you immediately know, yes, that is the brother of Ilia Topuria, the guy who's put on the most impressive performances in the UFC, the guy who has made Volkanovski look like an everyday run-of-the-mill fighter. That Volkanovski. His brother, Aleksandre, has not had the same experience in mixed martial arts as Ilia. Ilia ran through people, was extremely successful in the UFC, and has been on a tear the last few years. Aleksandre has not fought since May of 2023. So we have to keep in mind, although his last name is massive and is at the forefront of the sport, that doesn't mean it's the same exact experience for each person. Now, he did take those years off because he knew he wasn't quite of the level of where he needed to be. He also was helping Topuria plan for those Volkanovski fights, and that's going to be really important in just a second, and I'll tell you why. But he was around greatness. He was witnessing everything Ilia was doing. He wasn't fighting and taking damage when he wasn't at the level he thought he should be at. He waited. He took a patient route. He continued to improve. He continued to train around greatness and high-level guys, soak in as much as he could, and now he feels he's ready for the UFC. And you want to know how the UFC rewards him? You want to know how the UFC knows that he might be a potential superstar and someone worth their time? They don't throw him a run-of-the-mill guy who is an easy victory. Colby Thicknesse is not a joke. He is 7-1 in MMA. Again, this is also his UFC debut, but guess what he is? Australian. Do you know who's also Australian and one of his best friends and training partners for years, who holds him in extremely high standing and considers him a great fighter? Oh yeah, Alexander Volkanovski. So they give Thicknesse, who has a great track record, who's someone the UFC is 100% excited for, they give him the chance to get revenge for his idol, to get revenge for his coach and his compatriot. And that is such an interesting storyline for a debut where there's so much on the line. There's Topuria and his last name. There's the fact this isn't going to be an easy victory for him. And there's the fact that for Thicknesse, he gets to get revenge. He gets to, again, have the respect of the UFC and understand, hey, you're going to be up against a big challenge here. Now, Thicknesse is very interesting. He is just starting to get in the UFC, has taken his time similarly to Aleksandre, but he has been fighting the whole time, and he's been successful the entire time. He's won by unanimous decision. He's won by a rear naked choke. He's won by TKO and ground and pound. This guy is well-rounded and is a great fighter. If Aleksandre does not come to this octagon in his best, it being his night and giving a great performance, Thicknesse could definitely make lieu of him just because he's been more active. He's had more experience in the octagon, and him as well has been around greatness. But what an interesting tale of events for this to be both guys' first introduction to the UFC. And what an amazing way to start this UFC card. I'm telling you, do not jump in halfway through the prelims. There is a good chance this could be a fight of the night candidate. There is a good chance this is a fight you're not going to want to miss. And when they start talking about the embedded leading up to the prelim fight, when they start talking about the storyline with these guys and how much they both want to win, trust me, you're going to want to watch it. Do not miss this fight. Because we have little experience with these guys at high levels, it's hard to give a prediction. If I had a gun to my head, I would say Thicknesse has been the more active fighter. I would say he's a bit more well-rounded. But again, with the last name Topuria, I'm telling you, that guy comes packing a punch. That little man moves a lot like Ilia, and he gives you flashes enough that he could have a very scary similar game plan to what they did to Volkanovski. And he, if he wins, could definitely go on a tear and have waited the right amount of time to start his career. I think either guy that wins this fight will have a really good leg up on the UFC and the start to their career, and against more mediocre talent, start to put on 2, 3, 4, 5 wins in a row and matter. How cool would it be to have 2 Topurias? How cool would it be to have another Australian fighter who's relevant in the UFC? Let me know down below who you guys want to win, who you think is an exciting fight on this card that's not in the main event or isn't being talked as much about a Weili Zhang or a Duplessis fight. Let me know all your thoughts on UFC 312 down below. If you like any of this content on my channel, this video, more is coming constantly. So please subscribe, tag along the journey, give this a like for me, give it a comment. It means a lot, and I'm out. Peace.